I left my family. I left my kids. I left my nightclubs, my parking company, $35 million to fight the fight.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. This is Mafia Truths with John Alite. I'm Felix Levine, and to my right, John Alite. A quick reminder, of course, if you are not part of the Patreon family yet, sign up. The link is in the description of this video. You can go to patreon.com/Mafia Truths with John Alite. Subscriptions start as little as $8 a month, and they have a fantastic app. And there you'll be able to get all of our content early, bonus content. I believe one of the recent episodes was a clip from or a tape of Sammy that is never heard before, where he talks about when he first gets out of jail. He talks about John, so we play that for our Patreon subscribers. We also have an episode of John with some very exclusive Ravenite footage, where we kind of dissect who's in, who's not there, how people got to the Ravenite, stuff like that. So join the Patreon if you haven't done so already. I promise it's worth it. And then, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. You can also go to johnalite.com today, and you can buy these custom signed bats. As most of you who've read Gotti's rules know, John was almost a pro player. He got hurt. I think he had Tommy John surgery, if I'm not well mistaken. And so these are a really cool piece of memorabilia. We also are signing some photos that should be on the site while you're watching this. So if you want just a signed photo or multiple packages, you'll have that option. And then John's new book, Mafia International, you can pre-order that. If you want it signed, you can also get that, inscribed, whatever it is. So everything johnalite.com.
For the people out there, because a lot of people ask me about these bats, and I think they got the wrong idea of it because of some of the things I did with other baseball bats. Also, I want to say hello to Mike Diegas. He was my high school baseball coach. I just met him the other day at one of his family members' baseball games, and it was great to see him. And he was a great coach and really a positive influence on the kids playing ball. And really, this bat is about my baseball career and some of the things I did. I was a captain of baseball team junior and senior year, and then I got the full ride to University of Tampa. So the people that are asking that question, so they know why and why we chose baseball bats. It was because of my interest in baseball, my career in baseball, and the influence on some of the guys in my life that helped me stay on a straight and narrow, and that's guys like Mike Diegas, my principal of my high school, Kenneth Toole, and different people I stayed in touch with over the years. So I just want to say hello and thank you to those guys.
And also, they are really great pieces. When we have them custom design, they have John's inscription on them, John's signature, obviously, if you get a signed bat. So they're really a cool piece of memorabilia. We've got a lot of people sending them, I think it's like wedding gifts and for birthday gifts. So if you want one of them, johnalite.com, as well as the rest of the merch. But today, episode, I believe you and Gotti were accused of attempted murders or something of that nature that you wanted to tell the story of.
Yeah, the first story is about a guy named John Roberts. His name was Ricky Red in our neighborhood. Ricky Red was a car thief, a guy that stayed with John's brother-in-law, Carmine Agnello. And I had an incident with him. He was mostly a car thief, big guy. Most recently, he died of, I'm not sure, from what I understood, it was cancer or from shooting up. So he might have died of HIV. But at one time, I was at the PM Pub. PM Pub, for the people who don't know what it is, I spoke about it at several different occasions. And I talked about different incidents at PM Pub, some of the young gun kids. By the way, I'm going to bring up young guns again because, I try to keep it real with these guys. Guys like Eddie Recker, the Antonucci brothers, Bruno, some of these guys, Marty Barzard, who got murdered. These guys were part of a crew of what we used to call young guns. They grew up in my neighborhood. I know them all since they're kids who are around me. So I try to tell guys were real serious guys. Those guys were serious guys. Those guys were out there doing armed bank robberies. They were doing home invasions, armed, killing people. And they were a tough group of young guys. And, I happen to like them all because I know them since they're kids. Another guy, Kevin Gentile, who's got a life sentence for another shooting. And I wish these guys nothing but the best. Some of them are dead, and the ones that are dead, unfortunately, in our life, some of our crew members, we kill them, or they get killed by somebody else. But regardless, that's the life, and we all understand the life. But the guys that are out there, There's some tough guys out there, and Eddie's one of them. And, I want to say, the other day I did a story real quick, and I talked about kidnapping. He's not who I kidnapped, actually. It was another guy, but I said his name indirectly, mistakenly. But it was another guy I kidnapped at that time that we put down there. But to go back to these guys, I always liked them, and I wish them nothing but the best, and hopefully their lives get right. But as far as street guys, they were street guys. They were tough guys, and you'll hear me talking about some of the guys also that were tough guys, whether they were my enemies or friends. I speak honest about the guys that deserve the credit for that life when they were in that life, and I'm not advocating that life, so people know. But Ricky, going back to Ricky Red, he was at a place called the PM Pub, and he walked in with 5 guys, Carmine Agnello, Mikey Agnello, Carmine's brother, Angelo Costelli, who gets murdered later on and when he was pistol whipping somebody in front of the White Horse on Jamaica Avenue, right before he was supposed to get married. Actually, I was supposed to be in his wedding party. We were very friendly, and another guy, Anthony G. These guys walked in supposedly to kill me, pulled guns on me. And I happened to be in the PM Pub. They caught me short. I was with Ronnie One Arm and Captain Gambino family later on, a friend of mine, my partner in some of the businesses that we did. We were mutual partners in drug businesses and different things. But at that time, they didn't shoot. They talked. And, guys that are from the life, we know when guys are real shooters, they come in and they shoot. And everybody had an excuse why they were there or why they didn't shoot or why they came and why they made the mistake of doing it. Didn't matter to me. To cut the story short, I pulled a gun that Mondo, a friend of mine, ran out the back door, got me a 9mm. It was a little bit of a standoff. And John Gotti Jr. shows up with his sister and intervenes, and nothing happens. Gotti, the father, found out about it, called me in, wanted to know what it was over. None of us talked. We just told him it was a stupid incident. And, he dressed everybody down a little bit, and it was the end of the incident. Well, it really wasn't the end of the incident. I talked to John Gotti Jr. on the side and said, I'm not forgetting this. I grabbed Angelo Costelli in front of his house one night, and he told me, John, I had no idea I was coming looking for you. So me and Angelo talked, and that was over between me and Angelo. But me, Ricky Red was a different animal. He wasn't a friend of mine. Mikey Agnello wanted no part of it. He was, at that time, saying, John, please just, don't say nothing, don't pull the gun. And he tried to navigate his way out of it. So it left just the only person I could get retribution at that time was Ricky Red. And I convinced John Jr., I said, let's kill him. And he said to me, I'll do anything for you. And I says, okay, if you're going to do anything for me at that time, let's grab Ricky Red. We happened to be in a limousine coming down Woodhaven Boulevard. We were coming from the city. We were going to dinner one night. And on the way home, we see Ricky Red. He's in front of the OTB on Cross Bay Boulevard on Liberty Avenue. At that time, it was OTB. I don't think it's there anymore. And we pull Ricky Red, and we call him to come across the street. And he comes across the street because he's intimidated. He thinks the incident's over. And me and John call him. John tells him, get in the car. Ricky Red jumps in the car. At first, he didn't want to get in, obviously. But, John demanded he gets in the car. He gets in the car. And once he stepped in the car, we started beating him. We hit him with glasses from the limousine. I tied the telephone from the limousine around his neck. And he was holding on, and he was trying to jump out of the car as the car's going. Now, the driver of the car was a friend of ours, the Garinos, who's also involved with us in the street. And he was the driver, so we told him speed it up because we didn't want Ricky Red to jump out of the car. We were trying to kill him in the car. Finally, John couldn't get his hands off the door handle. He was trying to bite his hands so he wouldn't get his hands off the door handle. And Ricky Red knew if he stood in that car, eventually we were going to kill him. We were hitting him with glasses. We were stabbing him with the glass, and when it broke, and he tried to get out of the car, but we had I at the time tied the telephone around his neck. And then we decided it's easier just to push him out of the car because we're going whatever we are, 50, 60 miles an hour up the boulevard. And if he goes out the car, between the fall and the telephone, the wire tied around his neck, we'll just choke him to death and drag him. And we'll just cut the wire. But as we're dragging him and he's choking, the wire eventually breaks. And he's lucky he gets off. And we leave him in the street, and he ends up in obviously an emergency and doesn't die. He gets hurt bad, but he doesn't die. So after that incident, John looks at me and he said, we start laughing. We used to have a dry sense of humor. It's funny. It's not funny, but at that time it was funny to us. And he goes, you think he's going to call us back? And I started laughing because he had the telephone around his neck. And it was just a dry sense of humor. So these incidents were a regular basis for me and John. Another incident, when I was younger, I discussed this with Albert Ruggiano, Fat Andy's son. I was in a delicatessen at 15 years old, Dick's Deli on 79th Street. I was a 15-year-old kid, kind of like what happens in, all our neighborhoods with all of us. It's kind of like a Bronx Tale situation. And Patty Antique is a guy that just machine gunned the block up about 7 years earlier and shot a couple of people. He had a beef with some guy. And he ended up hitting an old man and taking his leg off. And he did about 7 years on a 15-year sentence, something like that. And the guy gets out of jail. I'm 15 years old. He's probably at that days in his mid-30s. And he thinks I'm making fun of him for some reason. I'm behind the counter. I was a sandwich guy. And we were joking about something. He thought I was joking about him. And he threatens me that he's going to kill me. And, we just took it as a stupid threat from an older guy who was just a little off in his brain. He just shot an old man by accident. And so we left it at that. But then he comes back in the store and he threatens me again. And my mentor at the time, Ronnie Martino, who used to call Mousy, he steps to him and threatens him. And they go back and forth with an argument. And again, we think it's squashed. And I'm in front of a gym around the corner. It's a private gym and I'm working out and Patty pulls up and tries to shoot me. He takes out a gun and he tries to shoot me with a small caliber gun, whether it was a 25 or a 22, it was small caliber. I take off running and he's shooting at me. And I end up going home to my house. And he jumps in his van. He knows where I live. I only live a couple blocks from him. And he pulls up in front of my house with a machine gun. And he gets out and he threatens my grandmother that's on the front porch. That doesn't really speak English. At that time, she only spoke Albanian. So she didn't know what was going on. And some of my neighbors were screaming and the guy took off again. So I seen that I wasn't going anywhere with Mousy or any of these guys. And I went to Albert Ruggiano, who went to his father. And he told me, listen, John, go to a bar called Nino's. I was young. And he told me at first, stay in my house. He goes, John, can you get in the bar? He goes, go to the bar. It's better off. I'm a young kid. I'm really not understanding why he's saying a bar. Why don't I just stay home? But he wanted people to see me at night. So when they take care of this guy, I'll have an alibi. Instead, Albert ends up grabbing his stepson. He can't find Patty. And he throws him off a building. I think it's in my book, Gotti's Rules. He throws Calvin off a building, 3-story building. And Calvin breaks his neck, he breaks his collarbone, breaks his shoulders, his legs. And he's in a full body cast. And he's in the hospital for about 2 months, I guess, a month, something like that. Big time. And they still can't find Patty because Patty's hiding. And now time goes by and we don't know, they never find Patty. And as a couple of years go by, we find out Patty moved to California. No, we don't see Patty anymore. And one day we're back in front of the PM pub, me and John Gotti Jr., and somebody had a mini bike. And Junior's driving the mini bike and I see the white van. And I'm screaming for Junior to pull back over by the PM pub, which he pulls over. I jump behind him and we start chasing the white van. And he asks me, who is that? And I tell him, it's Patty. He knows the story already. We get alongside of Patty. Patty doesn't see us. And I take out my gun and I only got a 25. And I stop popping at Patty's window. It's half open. And believe it or not, the bullets didn't even go through the window. Even I was surprised. I think it would at least crack the windows, but it didn't. And Patty tried to run us off into a car. And we jumped the curb and we hit the sidewalk and Patty takes off. Again, we don't see Patty for a couple of months. And we're at the Bergen Hunting Fish Club, me and John Gotti Jr., and we're discussing business about hurting some guy. And as we're walking, in the middle of John talking to me, I said, I'm going to kill this fucking guy. And John's going, yeah, thinking I'm talking about the guy he's speaking about. But here comes Patty jogging towards us in shorts and a white shirt. And he must be back in the neighborhood again, jogging, not realizing we're down by the club. He probably ain't even thinking about me anymore. And as he's jogging, I step in front of him. I go, "You remember me?" He didn't remember me because I was a little kid then. I was 15 years old. Now I'm probably closer to 20. And I start hitting him. And then Junior starts hitting him. And we start stomping him, and we're beating him to death. He's out cold. And we're on 103rd Avenue and 98th Street. And, I strip him. I strip his pants off him because he's wearing shorts. I strip his shirt off him, and I'm stomping on his head while he's out. John's stomping on him. And a woman comes out of the house screaming because she knows us all from up the block from the club. And so we take off, and she actually saves his life. She doesn't realize. And he ends up in emergency. And if she doesn't jump in, she kills him. As me and John are walking, we're full of blood now. And he said, "Why'd you leave him naked?" Because I ripped his clothes off. But I was so mad I wanted to embarrass him that I want everybody to find him in the street like that naked. If she doesn't come out, we end up finished killing him. But at that time, when me and John are doing these things, it's just another day in the park. We're doing this on a regular basis. It's one incident after an incident. And then we go after another guy, Frankie, on 79th Street, Ricky Nicosia's brother-in-law. And basically the same story happens again. We grab this guy, same thing. We bat him, we stab him, we stomp on him, and same incident. So when me and John are talking, we're having these conversations and we're laughing as we're full of blood. And he looks at me and I look at him, and we used to have that same humor. I think I brought this up on another show, Take the Money and Run with Woody Allen. And he goes, "I told you don't wear red to the robbery." And we just look at each other, start laughing because we're full of blood now. And we said, "Now where are we going to go?" So we end up going to a Sneaker Corner. It was a place that we always went to, and we bought sweatsuits. And the owner looked at us, and it was like routine for us, looked at us like, petrified that we're walking in the store to buy this stuff. And, when some people ask me, and the end up of these stories is when some people ask me about what we did every day, and this is what we did every single day. And later on, Patty ended up getting chased to California for another 5 years. He went to the Hells Angels. We went to my friend Pepsi, and the Angels used to call him Peppy. They went to Pep and asked him if he could stay, and me and Pep were good friends. His sister was complete opposite of us, who I dated as a kid. And he said, "John, what do you want to do with him?" I go, "Let's just chase him to California and let him go." And, we chased him to California, and he never came back. And so, the entanglement of all of us between groups, whether it was the Angels, whether it was, Latin Kings, whether it was anybody, we're all friends through each other. We grew up with each other. And part of that life, when people ask me, what do we do? And they keep writing me that. They want to hear stories. These stories are not weekly or monthly. These are daily. We're just doing this on a regular basis, either robbing people, killing people, trying to kill people. And the message now is the complete opposite. These bats or anything that we're selling has nothing to do with those beatings. It has to do with baseball. My message to kids is the suffering, the pain, it's just not worth it. And these stories I can't take away. They're just part of my life. And, and I give the stories that people want to hear. And they're always about myself being involved in these things. And people that don't want to hear these stories from me, a lot of my friends are on the shows like Anthony Ruggiano, and I've mentioned this again. We're all very close with each other. If you want to hear something from them, we help each other along, and we got different lives, and hopefully you go out and you reach out to one of them. But I appreciate everybody listening to the stories, and I hope if there's anything else you want to ask me about me and Junior, not all of it's bad. Some of it is some of the camaraderie and joking we have with each other, even during some of this craziness. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.